game is just played. Come after me! I'm a man! I'm for you! Can't wait! Let's go!
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show here on Sports Empire Network. I am Chris, and of course, that is Mo. Mo, how are you this morning, sir?
I'm doing great. We're talking football, and you know what? I know we're going to get into it a little later with the MLB maestro himself, JG, but I want to congratulate my partner. His Yankees made a big move, and I know it's big for him because when you're a Yankee fan, this season has been a tough season for them. So some good news, some light heading your way. Congrats, my friend.
Well, I'll be honest with you. The coffee tasted better this morning. The sunrise was more beautiful. I mean, I don't know what could go wrong with it. I'm excited to have JG on here in a little bit. You know, he's not going to rain on my parade. There's nothing JG can say today. All right. I don't care where Ohtani goes. I don't care where Bellinger goes.
You're living in the moment.
I'm living in the moment. Okay. I mean, I have some concerns past this season, but I'm not worried about that right now. Let's just see what this season brings, because so does a Yankee. It's a beautiful thing.
Love it for you. And like I said, JG will come down and break it down to us a little later.
Well, let's start with this. We had some quarterback decisions take place in the NFL yesterday. Zach Wilson is officially the starter once again for the New York Jets, and the Minnesota Vikings, coming out of their bye week, decided they were going to stick with Josh Dobbs as their starting quarterback, despite some of his recent struggles. And they are, of course, still in the middle of a playoff race. So let's start with the Jets. They released Tim Boyle. They re-signed, I believe, the quarterback that they had before Tim Boyle, or maybe it was the Rams backup quarterback. I'm not quite sure who it is. But regardless, Zach Wilson is their starting quarterback again, at least for this week. Mo, if it was me, and apparently Zach Wilson and Aaron Rodgers have a decent relationship, and I only say this because Aaron Rodgers is very open and willing to say nice things about Zach Wilson when he doesn't have to. Aaron Rodgers has no obligation to speak about any of these quarterbacks that they're shuffling in and out of there in his absence, but he does take time to defend Zach Wilson and support Zach Wilson. And reportedly, he reached out to Zach during this week and said, if they offer you the starter job again, take it. Don't turn it down. Don't say you don't want to do it. Take it. So clearly, there's some sort of a mentor type vibe there.
Yeah.
So for me, that's saying something, right? Like if Aaron sees something in you, and I'm not saying he sees a starting quarterback in him, but he sees something enough to where he's telling the kid, hey, it's going to hurt your future if they offer it to you and you say no. And Aaron's probably smart enough to realize he's not going to be a Jet next season. His market isn't going to be, booming during the offseason if the Jets cut him or try to trade him. So I think Aaron's smart enough to kind of read the tea leaves and be like, this is going to hurt his career, whatever that next chapter is. If he's sitting here saying, no, I refuse to be your starter, this, that, or the other thing. So I don't know if it's going to be past this game. We don't know. They didn't say that. They said he's starting this week. Who knows if he even finishes the game. But Mo, if I was the Jets, just make him the starter for the rest of the year. Aaron's not coming back this season. He's not starting. You're already out of the playoff hunt, basically, because of your loss to Atlanta. Why not just name Zach the starter for the rest of the season? And hopefully you can get a 7th round pick for him. I don't know, something, right?
And open up your playbook. Let the kid play. Don't water down your playbook. Open up your playbook and see what he has, good, bad, or other. And if you're Zach Wilson, to your point, Zach, this is your opportunity to audition yourself for your next home. Maybe you're auditioning yourself to remain a Jet. If Aaron Rodgers is in your corner and you play well, that gives him a legit argument point to say, we need to keep this guy. I trust this kid as my backup, maybe as your future going forward. So, yes, just name him the starter for the rest of the season instead of all this musical chairs you're doing. It doesn't even make sense. It makes the organization look a little in disarray or incompetent. Tim Boyle was good enough to start for you, and now he's not even good enough to be on your team. I don't understand that logic. Josh Wilson just last week wasn't good enough to be your second string quarterback, but now he's good enough to be your starter once again. Leadership, we always say this starts at the top. Right now, I would say that the leadership of the Jets is failing Josh Wilson.
And if I'm Robert Saleh, I'm bringing Zach into my office, and I'm being honest, Mo. I'm saying, listen, I don't know what's going to happen next season. I don't know if you're going to be here. I don't know what that situation looks like, but here's what I do know. You're the starting quarterback for the next 5 games. Use that as an opportunity for whatever comes next for you, whether you're with us, right, whether you're with somebody else, whether you're a free agent, whether we trade you. Like, have that open conversation with Zach, and maybe he walks out saying, you know what, even if we go 0-5, I need to make sure that I'm getting the most out of this for me, because they just told me we don't know what's going to happen with you, which basically means we're saying we're probably not in your corner. So we're going to give you the stage. You make the most of it. Whatever happens, happens, but we're not going to pull you. We're not going to bench you. It's your team for the next 5 games, and then we'll see where the cards fall come the offseason.
I love that. Empower him to take control of his own career, right? His own fate. I like that way of thinking, and I hope that the Jets Nation is listening to what you're saying, because, yes, do that. We don't know your fate, but your fate is in your hand. We're going to give you every opportunity to decide your future with this organization going forward. I love that way of thinking.
And I know there's some Jet fan listening who's probably like, well, we don't want to start winning games. Don't worry. You're not. You're not going to start winning games. Like, it's not going to happen. You're not a good football team. Zach Wilson is not a great quarterback. You're not going to start scoring more than 17 points a game. That's not the point. The point is, can Zach on that platform show that he can be a viable backup somewhere? That's realistically, Mo, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about the Jets losing ground in the draft order for the upcoming draft, because they're not going to score the points. Zach Wilson is not all of a sudden going to become a B+ quarterback. What we're saying is, give him a chance to show a team that he can hit a deep ball, that he can cut down on the turnovers, that he can, lead a couple touchdown drives. That's what he needs, because when you roll the footage of his season currently, I don't know how many teams are being like, hey, we want to bring you into camp.
I would say a lot of teams right now are not really thinking of the name Zach Wilson in terms of bringing him into camp. But hence the reason why these last few games are an opportunity for him to put himself out there to where somebody can go, he's a viable candidate to be a legitimate backup on our football team.
Well, we got a great show lined up today. We got JG coming on in a couple of minutes here. We're going to talk about later on the Greenlaw. This is your team, my guy. We're talking about Greenlaw and Big Dom. That situation is still being talked about by the NFL. Key is going to be on today to talk some WWE stuff with us. And then later on the show, we're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills, a little Micah Parsons. We got some Pro Bowl things that were released yesterday. And, of course, we are going to predict the football game that takes place tonight, which is sure to be something, Mo.
I like what you said. It is going to be something.
It's going to be something. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, JG is going to be here, and we're going to talk Major League Baseball right on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere. Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show here on Sports Empire Network.
Hey, y'all. I'm Key.
And I'm Jory, and tune in to Hoop Dreams and Touchdown Queens every Saturday at 5 p.m. over on Sports Empire Network.
And don't forget, also watch us on Roku TV at Northeast Streaming Productions. So tune in.
Welcome back. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show here on Sports Empire Network. We are joined now by JG. JG, it's a great morning in Yankee land, and I'm not going to hide it from you. I'm not going to lie about it. I will admit I was for about an hour last night when they were reviewing medical stuff and it was taking a minute or two. And I was like, I literally was going back through transactions last season, being like, who is hurt? Who in this deal was hurt last season to where this could hold up the deal? But obviously, it got pushed through. The Yankees have Soto. They acquired Verdugo about 16 hours prior to that, and now they have a new outfield. Their outfield for this upcoming season is going to be Soto, Judge, and Verdugo across. I'm not super excited about Aaron Judge playing center field, but, it is what it is. So I am excited about that. But, JG, let's start with this, because as a realistic Yankee fan, you have to look at this and you have to say, well, it is a one-year rental. Unless you do something that makes him want to stay and you pay him. There's two parts to that. You have to pay him, but he also wants to be there. So the Yankees, I think, can handle the paying him part. But if they go 82 and 80 again, I doubt he's going to want to be there. He's going to probably be looking for better horizons. So with that in mind, JG, they can't be done, right? They still have to make other moves to put themselves in the conversation of doing something this season besides winning 82 games. Obviously, Yamamoto is their next target, but there's literally 8 teams lined up for his services. I mean, the Mets owner just went to Japan to visit him. People are rolling out the carpet for him. Assuming that doesn't happen, let's say the Yankees, he just doesn't choose the Yankees. What other options realistically are out there? Because I would argue the Yankees gave up their second most talented pitcher in this trade to get Soto. So right now we're looking at Garrett Cole, who is the reigning Cy Young winner. I'm okay with that. But there's not much to talk about after that. And I know that Brian Cashman is doing his Brian Cashman wizardry, and he's talking about how getting back a healthy Rodon is basically like getting a new player. I'm so tired of hearing Cashman say crap like that, because Rodon looked terrible last season. So, yeah, obviously we're going to cross our fingers with him, but he's not going to be our 2. So what is out there for the Yankees to do if they can't land their next target?
Well, you said it's interesting right now, because we talked about this with the Yankees kind of in the direction they were heading, and how it was gloom and doom about Cashman makes this trade, and now Cashman is a wizard. I love it. I love it. How it's just so up and down and it's just not just Yankee fans. That's sports in general. Yeah, you have to figure out how to. One, I'll focus on the Soto first. He's going to free agency. You're not going to get an extension out of him right now. You're not going to get an extension out of him in a month. You're not going to get an extension out of him in 2 months. You're not going to get an extension out of him before the season starts. He's going to free agency, and the idea of knowing that, because Boris has came out and said that before, but the fact that he turned down when he was with the Nationals, 2 years ago,
big money.
He turned down 12 years, $440 million contract. Right. I can't fathom turning that down. But he did. Him and Boris turned down 12 years, $440 million. So he's not signing an extension. He's going to free agency. And he's going to make sure that he puts up his numbers regardless of what the Yankees do or whatnot. He's going to have to make sure. And what better place, and I'll say this as far as just the aesthetic side of it, what better place for a left-handed bat to put up great numbers than Yankee Stadium? Now, you challenged me to rain on your parade about this.
Here we go.
Juan Soto, the 261 hitter in the Bronx.
In 7 games.
Let me get there. I was about to say it's limited games as a road player, but 261. And even Scott Boras came out and said it's not his favorite stadium, but he will perform when he's there. But it's not his favorite. I'm just going to put that out there and make that thing in your head a little bit, that it's known he's not very fond of Yankee Stadium now, but he's gonna. It's gonna be a very challenging time for the Yankees, because one, as you said, they have to win in order to entice him. They're gonna have to win, and he's gonna put up his numbers too, which that means his price is going to be up, and he's going to want $450 million, 400 to 450 again, and be able to make sure that he maximizes the years. He's 25 years old. So one thing that this does help the Yankees, it brings youth. which this is one of the oldest teams we talked about last year in Major League Baseball. You get a 25-year-old outfielder now. That's great for the Yankees because you get a little bit of youth involved into that with someone who's a generational type of bat, who's a generational type of hitter, who's going to protect Aaron Judge now. So you have that added to you. But now, as you said, the pitching is the most important aspect of what the Yankees need to do. Who's next? I don't know because the guys are getting signed now. Eduardo Rodriguez is about to go to Arizona. That was one of the next level. Blake Snell's still out there, but are you going to be able to have enough money to pay him? And that's a question the Yankees have to ask because he's going to get big money too. So you're going to pay him and Garrett Cole big money to be a 1-2 rotation pieces. This front office for the Yankees, I don't think so. Again, we talked about this before. If it was George Steinbrenner and is the owner, absolutely. He would make the Juan Soto trade, turn around, and then sign Blake Snell. Hal and Hank don't do that, though. So I don't think Blake Snell's an option. I don't know where you turn. If you don't get Yamamoto, I don't know what you do. You may have to run out there with Carlos Rodon again, and as your number 2, and hope Nestor Cortez can also bounce back and be your number 3. The pieces are falling right now. So,
what do you think Yamamoto is going to get? Is he going to get in the $300 million range?
I know that's been talked about. I can't see that for him right now because again, we're talking about a really good pitcher, but I'm trying to remember what Yu Darvish signed for when he came over. That's I realistically think something like that, maybe around one. I could see 150 to 200 at being a top end. I don't see 300 for a pitcher who's not pitched in the big leagues, even though he's damn good in Japan. They still got to see him do it in the big leagues. So I don't know. I don't understand why it's being so high for Yamamoto. The price, again, I think because you have 8 teams involved, the price is going up because of the number of teams there. Whereas I remember Yu Darvish, it was really only 3 teams that were interested in him, and it was the Rangers who signed him. Ohtani, it was a handful of teams that were interested, and it was the Angels who got him. But you have 8 teams right now. I think this is the most we've had for a Japanese pitcher that was posted. So that might be why the price has been going up, but I don't see it being. I don't really understand why it's 300 million is kind of being talked about. I think 150 to 200, 6-year deal type of thing is probably what we're going to see. I know he's young, and that's a good thing, but I don't really understand that. Because again, with the history and the precedent of Japanese pitchers, they're not getting big contracts right off the bat. They got to see what they no matter what, they have to see what he can do against big league hitters. Now, they can go turn the WBC film in on him and see him pitch against, big league hitters, and he dominated. So that might be a part of the thought process for him. But at the same time, you still got to see it on a nightly basis against some of the best hitters in the world every time you step on a mound. So I'm not really sure. I think 150 to 150 is probably going to be more realistic total. Maybe it might be to 200, but maybe the price is just it's going up and because there's 8 teams involved, and that's probably why it's going to go a little bit higher.
Does all of this help Blake Snell? Because it's not a stretch to say, as a Yankee fan or anyone else who is kind of bidding on the services of Yamamoto, that if we don't get him, but we were willing to spend the money on him, well, why not just give it to Snell? Because if we struck out over here, and we know that, there's a 4 or 5 year age difference, and I understand it, but at that point, you become a little more desperate. You still have a hole to fill. You were going to spend the money anyways. Is that a natural pivot for any of these teams? And if so, does that help Snell kind of get where he wants to get as well in the market?
Not really, because his price is higher. He's Yamamoto, unless Yamamoto's price does go up and what it is, then yes, I think it could help a little bit for him because we know what Blake Snell's going to do in the big leagues. Will it shoot his price up to $350 to $400 million? No, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think you're going to see something around upper 200s just because he's 2-time Cy Young winner. But again, as you said, the age is the factor in that situation too. How many years has he won? And is he wanting a 8-year deal? Is he wanting something similar as far as lengthwise to what Aaron Nola got? And if that's the case, he's better than Aaron Nola, so he should be paid a whole lot more than what Aaron Nola got. But if that's the number of years that he's wanting, being a 30-plus-year-old pitcher, that's going to be skeptical. So I think that's something that you're going to look at and say for Yamamoto, who's I think he's 25, versus Snell, who's in his 30s. You're going to look at it and kind of compare and contrast that. Where if Yamamoto does go up, his price goes. Let's just say it goes to $230 million. Yeah, but Snell's going to try and go, well, hey, if Yamamoto got $230, I want $275. And I think that's going to be fair. I think it's going to be a fair price. Now, again, the question is going to be is the years. How many years is he wanting? Does he want 8-year deal? Does he want – if he's wanting a 5-year deal, more likely the team's going to say, hey, well, if you do want 5 years, we'll do $250. We'll do something what you Darvish got, from San Diego, as far as years and money. And I think that would be more realistic for him at this stage of his career. But if he's wanting 275, he's going to want a little bit longer. Our team's going to be more open to that. I don't know that side of it. That might be what a lot of the holdup is at the moment for Snell, is what is he wanting years-wise on top of the money? The years might be the big question mark for him, because he has moments of been up and down, and he has moments where he's been really great. But at the same time, is if you've been up and down in your prime, when you get out of your prime, that up and down gets a lot more consistent versus being really good. So I think that's where a lot of the conversation for Snell and why we haven't heard a lot movement from him at the moment was what's the years as well as the money. The years might be the biggest thing that he's trying to get, while teams are a little bit held up on how many years he's wanting.
After Snell, is Jordan Montgomery the next biggest pitcher on the free agent market?
Yeah, Jordan Montgomery might be one that might be the next one. I know Brandon Woodruff, he's going to be hurt majority of the year. Marcus Stroman is out there still, so that's someone who's been very consistent. Again, 33 years old. Jordan Montgomery's 31. Woodruff is 31. And if you're the Yankees in this situation, we're talking about the Yankees, Jordan Montgomery should be the next target. If you can't get Yamamoto, you're going to throw a lot of money to Jordan Montgomery to try to bring him in. And hopefully what he did with Texas can resurrect him moving forward and being a top end type of rotation piece, which is what the Yankees would like to have, especially in that line, in that ballpark, a lefty pitcher. You're gonna you want to be able to take away some of the left-handed hitter bats that you're going to face in Yankee Stadium. That might be something that they look into a little bit more to go after and kind of throw big money at if Yamamoto's off the books. And really, actually, Montgomery's still kind of in play for the Yankees, even if they do get Yamamoto. And I think they could probably add him and Montgomery and throw him. That way you have those two with Cole as a 1-2-3. Rodon doesn't have as much pressure to have to bounce back, from a very dismal 2022. You can take his time and make sure that he's in shape and he's healthy and be number 4. And Nestor Cortez will be your number 5. That does stretch it out a lot better. And I think that makes your rotation better and it actually puts, again, if Montgomery pitches like he did it with the Rangers, Yamamoto is the real deal. Garrett Cole now can sit back and relax and just pitch and not have to carry this rotation for a deep, throughout the season again with some help, much like you just provided Aaron Judge some help with Juan Soto.
Is Ohtani going to be a Blue Jay? That's the only thing that's going to ruin my day.
I swear that is the strangest pairing, and when you keep asking me about Ohtani, I have no idea.
Does he want to be the face of Canada? I don't know what they're offering him in Toronto. I don't understand it.
Does he know French?
I don't know. Does he like maple syrup?
I know Toronto's not Montreal, but it's you still got a little bit in the French in that area, but I don't see it. I know they're pushing. I know that's the thing. There's a lot of reports, and I still keep hearing in the back of my mind that they want this quiet. But there's a lot of reports about Toronto. Why? That's what I don't understand. Is if they're wanting this quiet, but there continues to be almost on a weekly basis Toronto. Why are we hearing more about Toronto in the media about Ohtani than anybody else? That's fine. I find that so strange. But again, and if it's true, and so far nobody's really denied that Toronto is really involved in this, maybe. But again, at the same time, they've already came out and said if we get Ohtani, we're trading Vlad Guerrero and Bo Bichette, and that doesn't make any sense to me either. So that's why in my head I'm thinking no, that he's not going to be a Blue Jay, because if you're going to sign Ohtani, you want depth. Otherwise, if you trade Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette, he's basically playing for the Angels again. It's the same lineup. It's the same type of lineup with no consistency and no run production because you just traded your two best players. So at that point, it doesn't make sense for Toronto to, one, make those moves while bringing Ohtani. It doesn't make sense for Ohtani to go to Toronto and play in a lineup that's not as good as what it was in 2023. So I know there's a lot of smoke right now about it, and usually when there's smoke, there's fire. But this case, I don't see that being the case.
Last thing, JG, where does Bellinger land now?
I think at this point, because the outfield, I know he was targeted by the Yankees so much. I think with the addition of Soto and now also Trent Grisham and Verdugo, it kind of eliminates the Yankees. Unless they want him to play first base, and then you find a way to trade Anthony Rizzo. But does Bellinger want to play first base? Bellinger's still a really good outfielder. Gold glove type of outfielder. I don't think at this stage of his career he's ready to make that transition full time, kind of like what Bryce Harper did. But Bryce Harper did it because of necessity, because he couldn't throw the ball in the outfield anymore because of the arm injury that he sustained. So at this point, I think it eliminates the Yankees as a potential landing spot. I still think Chicago Cubs. I think that was just such a, as I said to you guys before, it was such a perfect fit. It was such a perfect marriage for Bellinger and the Cubs, and it resurrected himself. It resurrected his career. And why not show loyalty to a team that gave you the opportunity to rediscover yourself and go sign an extension with them, with him long term, with Dansby Swanson still there, being more of the leader of that team. You can have this team be competitive in a very wide open NL Central. And we're talking about the Brewers are going to be taking a step back. I believe you have the Reds who are building themselves up and having a really good and exciting young core team that are going to be more competitive in 2024. You have the Cardinals who are making the moves, and they're trying to get themselves to potentially be back in conversation of the division. This division is so wide open that if you're the Cubs and you bring Bellinger back and if you add some pitching into your rotation, you can be in the conversation for a division title in the NL Central. So it makes sense for both sides. For Bellinger to go back to Chicago where he was comfortable, he performed really well, and it makes sense for Chicago to bring him back to continue their status of competing in this division that is very open for anybody to win right now.
JG, before we get you out of here, I know Mo wants to know, who is your pick tonight for Thursday Night Football? I know. We're talking big matchup tonight. It's Bill Belichick. It's Mike Tomlin. I almost wish they could suit up and go out there because it might be more interesting, but they're not.
Well, so remind me again of the matchup. I know this was such a horrible. I talked to some of my friends back home. One of my friends back texting our group, our fantasy football group. He goes, said this last night. He goes, "What a terrible game we're going to have tonight." I'm like, "It's Wednesday. The game's tomorrow." He goes, "See, that's how bad it was. I was dreading it so much. I was dreading it a day early." What was the matchup again? Just to remind me.
Steelers and Pats.
Steelers, Pats. I mean, first team to score 10 points probably wins. If 10 points even get scored, I don't know. I'm gonna go with a little bit better weapons that Steelers have on the offensive side. I think their defense is still playing really well. I know they had a bad game against Arizona recently, but there's so much going on within New England that they don't know. What's a worse quarterback situation right now? It's the New York Jets. I know we always talk about the Jets quarterback situation with Zach Wilson and then Tim Boyle and then Trevor Siemian and then back to Zach Wilson, or New England that has Mac Jones and then goes back to Bailey Zappi and then back to Mac Jones and now it's going back to Bailey Zappi. What's a worse quarterback situation? It's interesting. We talk about the Jets quarterback situation. We don't really mention about the Patriots, how they're handling their quarterbacks right now. So I think that's kind of interesting. But there's so much adversity going on with New England on their offensive side that I think the Steelers in this matchup, shockingly with Mitch Trubisky being the quarterback, has the better quarterback in this matchup. And I think that's going to be a big factor in. So I'm going to go Steelers to win tonight in a very what has been a consistently bad Thursday night schedule in the NFL. And hopefully they can either figure this out, the NFL does, and make this better for us as fans, or just do us a favor and do away with Thursday night games, because this has been awful. I think we've had maybe one good game all season on Thursdays, and everything else has been average to, God, this is terrible. Figure it out or do away with it. Let's just go play on Sundays and Mondays, and let's have it like the old days. But I'll go Steelers to win the night.
If you're going DraftKings tonight, I suggest kickers and defense, because those are going to be your point scorers tonight, folks. JG, yep. Pleasure as always. We will see you next week, sir.
Appreciate you, JG.
Appreciate it, guys.
Well, before we bring Key on here, I want to talk a little 49ers football with you, but we're not going to talk about on-the-field stuff. We're going to talk about sideline stuff, because the NFL is still talking about it. So during the 49ers-Eagles game, as most of you know, there was a little dust-up on the sidelines, and it was between your linebacker, Greenlaw, and it was between Big Dom, the head security person for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, at the time, Philadelphia fans were up in arms because Greenlaw took a swipe at Big Dom, and, you know, how dare you swing at a coach or a personnel person on the sidelines, this, that, and the other thing. And both were tossed. And then, you know, Eagle fans in the stadium were up in arms because how dare you toss out Big Dom from the game? He didn't do nothing. He was just doing his job. He was standing in front of an Eagles player who, you know, was having an issue. So then we find out on the back end that teams have been told by the NFL, you can't do that. You are not allowed to have your non-official personnel interact with players. And now that the investigation has spread out a little more, we do have it confirmed that Greenlaw did take a swipe at him, but we also have it confirmed that his hands were in Greenlaw's face prior to that. I believe he was just trying to separate players or whatnot, but he was also saying stuff to Greenlaw as well. So as we kind of push forward in this, and there are rumblings amongst the Philadelphia reporters that there is going to be some sort of a discipline for Big Dom as a result of this. For me, Mo, I look at it as, and the NFL came out yesterday and they sent a memo to all the teams, and I read through the memo, and also in the memo were the 3 previous memos that they sent out to teams, 2 from this year and 1 from the offseason, about this particular thing. Not because it was happening in the league, but just, you know, as companies do, they remind you of stuff. And maybe it was happening and it just didn't get this kind of coverage. Maybe little things popped up here and there and they felt the need to send reminder memos out. But since the offseason, before this situation, the NFL has talked about it via memo 3 times to teams, this being the 4th time. So for me, Mo, I get heat of the moment. I understand it. It was proximity. I don't think that, you know, Dom went down there to put himself in that situation. I'm pretty sure it was happening right in front of him, and that's why he inserted himself into the situation. For me, the NFL has made it pretty cut and dry. You can't do it. You can't do it. You're not supposed to do it. Don't do it. So whatever they choose punishment-wise, regardless of whether it's heavy or light, my opinion is you should have known better. Like, if you are a non-essential personnel on the sidelines in an NFL game, you need to know what you can and cannot do. And I understand heat of the moment. I understand that, you know, Greenlaw was saying stuff to him. I get all that. But if you choose to do something you know you're not supposed to do, whatever happens to you afterwards, just take it and move on. Where do you stand?
I think you speak for both of us on that point. Look, I think you're right. Big Dom had no intentions of putting himself in the middle of that. I think it just happened in the moment. I think he knew what he wasn't supposed to do, and he got caught up in it. It happens. It's a fluke thing. If you're a Niners fan or an NFL fan, let me say this. Greenlaw, he's known to run hot. Mm-hmm. He's a very emotional, high-strung kind of player, wears it on his shoulder pads. So he runs hot anyway. It wouldn't have taken much to upset him. He might have been upset even before he got to Dom.
Correct.
It is the kind of player that he is. So look, I never thought it was a thing. Greenlaw getting thrown out, it upset me, but he put himself in that kind of light. He runs hot that way to where you're kind of surprised he hasn't got thrown out before.
Right.
So look, I think that whatever the punishment is, it shouldn't be so severe. You can't do it, but again, I think it's a blip, it's a fluke. If anything, you know how the city of Philadelphia runs. Dom has become a bigger legend now, right?
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
10 years from now, this story will be bigger. Remember that time Dom almost beat up that 49ers linebacker? And I'm okay with that. That's what great sports stories are about. But the event, as it were, let the NFL make its decision and let's just move past it.
I mean, he got a standing ovation when he was being walked off the field. I don't know how many security guards for NFL teams are getting standing O's when they're being escorted off the field.
And like you said, look, the story gets better too, because he went home. His friends were like, "Man, Dom was about to clean that guy's clock." He's so, and maybe he was. We'll never know, but it makes for a great story.
All right, at this time, I want to welcome Key on the show. Key joins us every week to break down all things happening in the world of wrestling and WWE. Key, how are you this morning?
I can't complain. I'm sitting here backstage cracking up. Y'all talking about Big Dom. I'm not even going to hold y'all. I was in the airport when it happened, and I'm like, let's go, Dom. So, I'm cheering in the airport. So, I mean, stuff like that. Dom is popular around these parks, so yeah.
And Mo, to your point, like he just said, I bet you that as that was happening live during the Eagles game, Eagles fans were coming out of their seats, all saying the same thing: "Get him, Dom."
Right. Oh, guaranteed it. It's interesting that obviously we have Key on here to talk wrestling. Look, in my head, I was already thinking Greenlaw and Big Dom versus the Judgment Day. I'm already working on that.
Key, we always appreciate you coming on. First thing I want to talk about is our tribal chief, Roman Reigns. And Mo, I'm going to start with you. The rumors are coming out. When Roman Reigns comes back, who is he going to face at the Royal Rumble? 3 names have been thrown out: Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, and LA Knight. If you had to choose between those 3, Mo, who would you like to see Orton face at Royal Rumble?
Out of those 3, I would take Randy Orton. I mean, I like Kevin Owens, but I think like we've seen that, done that. Randy Orton, because of how unique he is and how he is right now at this stage of his career, he will give you a main event performance. He will push Roman Reigns. I'm not saying he's going to win, but he will push Roman Reigns. I'd much rather see that. I know Key is probably going to lean towards LA Knight because she seems to be a bigger fan of his. Whereas you and I both, we don't see it. I don't see it. I just don't get it. It might be the most annoying thing when somebody goes, "Yeah, I can't take it. I can't take it."
Key, I almost feel like putting KO into this conversation is kind of a moot point because it looks like they're already setting up his path to feud with Logan Paul for the U.S. title. He's in the U.S. tournament. He was one of the main instigators when the tournament was announced on SmackDown. He had the interaction with Paul. He punched Austin Theory in the face again, which I think is just hilarious.
I love
that. The dry humor stuff they're doing with Kevin Owens is just pure genius. I don't know if he's coming up with it or they're writing it for him or it's a collaboration, but either way, it's funny TV. But it looks like KO is going to go the U.S. title route, which I'm okay with, because I think it helps that division. Obviously, Logan Paul isn't going to be a mainstay, week in and week out in WWE. So they're going to take advantage of him from now through WrestleMania season. And I think he's going to kind of dial back a little bit. But if you're looking at LA Knight, who, let's be honest, hasn't done much since he had his title match. He's kind of floating around now. He pops up here and there. He's still over as hell, Key. I mean, he came out the other night to make the save and the roof blew off the place. So he's not losing his shine at all. He is still beyond over, but so is Randy Orton. So Key, which of those two would you like to see? Do you want to see Knight get another run at it and kind of continue the feud that he started? And I would say deserved because he is so over. Or do you see them throwing Randy in there? You know, he's calling himself Daddy. He's telling Paul to tell Roman that Daddy's back. I mean, that back and forth is going to be amazing as well. Where do you lean for Royal Rumble?
So it's going to be Randy. LA Knight had his shot. I don't think he's quite ready for the main belt yet. KO's hurt. KO is hurt. I believe he broke 2 of his fingers. During that whole, thing with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. So he is out. So Randy is going to fight Roman next. That will be his feud. He has to finish his feud on the bloodline. We're gonna somehow see him go ahead and RKO Jay one day. He got the save. He was like, all right, we good for now, but don't be surprised if we just see Randy RKO Jay for no reason. You know why? He's getting his comeuppance back. Jimmy's on SmackDown. Solo's there. Roman's there. That's why Randy signed to SmackDown, so he can get back at the bloodline. So he will be fighting Roman Reigns. I can see LA Knight being in the US title competition. I can see him beating Logan Paul. If they want to put the US title on him, that would be the best route for him to go right now.
Match.
Sticking with the US title, Logan Paul and LA Knight would be a moneymaker. So I don't know if they do that for WrestleMania. I don't know if they do that for the Royal Rumble. But the next feud for Roman is going to be Randy. And we all know Randy's not going to beat him, but he's there to put him over. So he's going to be fighting Roman next.
Key, with the return of CM Punk, one of the things that has been openly discussed amongst wrestling insiders is that WWE's long-term plan, and they're going to do a slow burn on it, is they eventually want to put Reigns and Punk together. Now, if you just look over the next handful of months, WrestleMania is not that far away. And as wrestling fans, we all look towards WrestleMania as the time where Cody's going to win the belt. So now you have to ask yourself, well, wait a minute. If they want the Punk Reigns match, doesn't it lose some of that luster if it's not for the title? If it's not the reigning, defending, 13, 14, 1,500 day champion Roman Reigns versus the best in the world CM Punk, do you think the potential want for a Punk Reigns match is going to derail Rhodes winning the title at WrestleMania?
No, the plan is still going to be Cody Rhodes to fight Roman at WrestleMania. CM Punk, this is going to set CM Punk versus Seth. Roman versus CM Punk would be a good match. I mean, regardless if it's for a title or not, it's still a dream match. But they're gonna set this up for the Royal Rumble. Cody's gonna already declared himself in the Rumble.
Yep.
Nobody else. We don't know what spot he's coming out yet. Nobody else declared themselves. Maybe CM Punk going on SmackDown this week. Maybe he's going to enter himself in the Royal Rumble. Do I want Cody to win? No, because that just wouldn't be his route. Make him win the title. I mean, make him win at Elimination Chamber. Have him win the Chamber match. He gets to pick Roman, of course. That's going to be your night 2. Seth, maybe CM Punk wins the Royal Rumble. Of course, he's going to go after Seth Rollins. That's going to be your night 1 main event. Seth Rollins and CM Punk. Either way, take my money, WWE. I will give it to you all. I'm still trying to be in the building for either one of those nights. Since it is in Philly, I don't care which night I go to. I'm going to try to be there. But I think that's your plan setting up. They're not throwing Seth at CM Punk right now. To get him started, maybe, I don't know who they throw at CM Punk for right now. Maybe a Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, but Drew McIntyre looks like Sami Zayn is going to be out of action for a while. So maybe that will set up a CM Punk Drew McIntyre feud. We don't know, but that's going to be your main event for right now, WrestleMania. So they're not going to throw Seth They're not going to throw CM Punk at Roman right now. Who knows? Paul Heyman might decide to screw Roman and go back with CM Punk, but I'm just like, I want Paul Heyman to stick with Solo. Paul Heyman is the GOAT when it comes to managers. He's one of them. Have him be with Solo, get him going. But I wouldn't see Heyman going back to CM Punk.
Mo, think about this, all right? Triple threat match, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Brock Lesnar. Winner gets Paul Heyman's services.
I love that triple threat match. Wow. That could be one of the greatest.
Who are you taking there, Mo? Because we're not talking about Brock. Brock always comes back for WrestleMania season. No one's really talking about Brock Lesnar right now.
He does. He's not a full-time wrestler, but he shows up for the biggest events, right? I would pick Lesnar. And you know what? Heyman is the kind of guy like my tribal chief, and then Brock wins, and he goes, "My God, Brock Lesnar!" Like, he can flip. He can flip on you that quick. It's one of the reasons why he is the GOAT. Because if he did that, it would surprise no one. It's Correct. What he does. It's what he does. He rolls with the winners.
Key, we always appreciate having you on here every week. Thank you so much for taking time with us, and we'll see you next week. All right?
Yep.
Appreciate you, Key.
Mo, always a pleasure having Key on with us. Always nice talking WWE during the week. Let's pivot a little bit here, Mo, shall we? Because that's what we do here. We like to pivot here on the morning show. I want to talk a little bit about the Buffalo Bills. So, and we're not going to talk about on the field stuff. We're going to discuss some off the field stuff that I'd love to get your opinion on, because the Buffalo Bills got a huge game against the Kansas City Chiefs this week. Big game for both. Kansas City is looking to stay pace in the AFC as far as seeding goes with Miami and Baltimore. And Buffalo is just looking to stay in the wild card race because they are currently 6-6. As of right now, it looks like Von Miller is going to play on Sunday, and that has become a hot button question because of what he's been accused of. He was accused of a domestic violence situation. He was not just accused, he was arrested for it. A warrant was put out. He turned himself in. Since he has turned himself in, apparently the young lady who accused him has recanted her story. But both investigations are still ongoing. It looks like the NFL is waiting to see what the actual police investigation rounds out being before they make any decisions. Buffalo is going to play Von Miller against the Kansas City Chiefs this weekend. Agree or disagree with that decision?
So with this investigation ongoing, and I really think these kind of situations are so ultra sensitive. Mm-hmm. The fact that it's an investigation, it doesn't mean he's guilty of anything. Correct. But having said that, because there is an investigation, because he was actually arrested, and her initial comments implied he did do those things, even though now she's recanting, which, by the way, so many alleged victims recant, even though it actually occurred. And I'm not saying that in this case, but I'm just saying many times that is the case. Mm-hmm. I would not play him. I think it's a bad look. Not until this is resolved, I wouldn't play him. And I know the flip side would be, well, he's not proven guilty of anything. He should be able to earn a living. I understand that. I understand that. But because it is an ongoing investigation, I would throw caution to the wind. And I know Buffalo's trying to remain in the hunt. I just know that I wouldn't play him. That's just my perception of the way I see things. I wouldn't play him.
And I side with you. It's nothing against Von Miller. And I understand that we've had a handful of situations, and people are going to point out the Trevor Bauer situation as, the worst of that side of it, where, he didn't do anything wrong and he said he was innocent the entire time. And it came out in the end that he was, and that the woman lied. But I always err on the side of somehow you got yourself in that situation. Somehow. And I'm not saying you're at fault for being in that situation, but for whatever reason, that situation is currently happening in your life. And until that situation is resolved, we are just going to err on the side of caution, like you said, and we're going to see how things play out. Because at the end of the day, and this always kind of frustrates me, Mo, At the end of the day, I have no issue with a team coming out and saying, we support Von Miller. We are always going to support Von Miller. He is one of our players. We want him as a part of this organization, and we are going to support him through this process. But at the same time, we are a business, and we have to make business decisions. And this decision to wait until we see what happens is just best for business. Like, literally steal Vince McMahon's line from WWE. Do what's best for business. And at the end of the day, if Von really did it, even if she recanted and there is no legal ramifications, then deep down in his heart, he knows what he did. Like, if he actually did it, he knows what he did, and he should be okay with it. And if he didn't do it, then he should appreciate the fact that the team's not suspending him, because that's what happened, Mo. That's what happened after the whole Ray Rice thing a handful of years ago. The next few guys that were accused of domestic violence, they were gone. They were cut. It was so sensitive after the Ray Rice situation. Correct. That we weren't going to talk about it. We weren't going to wait around to see what happened. You were accused. You no longer had a job the next day. So it's not like Buffalo's doing that. They're just saying, we want to see where it goes.
And I think that's what you're supposed to do. Let this play out. Let this investigation play out. We're not saying we don't want you as part of the organization, but this situation needs to be resolved. And it's not a football situation. We want you as part of the football team, but this is a separate situation that it's a personal situation, if anything, that you need to resolve before you join the team. How many times do we tell people, take care of yourself first before you come back to the team? If you have mental health issues or health issues, well, I think this is one of those situations. Hey, Von Miller, stay in contact with the team. Let the process play out. But until then, we don't want you on the field right now.
Right, handle your business. Handle your business and come back when your business is settled. That's all.
Right. I'm with you.
We need Micah Parsons to stop talking, Mo. I'm going to officially say it this morning. I was almost there yesterday, but this morning I'm done. I am done with Micah Parsons. Bleacher Report needs to take away his microphone, because after his latest spew, I don't even know what to say. So after talking about how he could be a quarterback and he could do what Tua and Brock Purdy do, he then talked about two other quarterbacks, and those are Mac Jones and Zach Wilson. And his first point I was on board with. He basically said the New York Jets broke Zach Wilson. We have talked about this before. I totally agree with it. Then he started talking about Mac Jones, which I thought made sense, because you and I have also talked about how they should basically be best friends because they're basically in the same situation.
Correct.
But Micah didn't go that direction. Micah went the opposite direction with Mac Jones and said that the situation in New England is actually Mac Jones's fault, because Mac Jones has given up on his team. Mac Jones has stopped showing efforts for the Patriots. Mac Jones has stopped trying to win games, and that is why he is in the spot that he is in. He even then went even further and said that it's not the coach's fault, because he has one of the greatest coaches of all time. So he said, so it's not a coaching issue, it's a Mac Jones issue. And to that, Mo, I say, what the hell are you looking at, Micah? Because it's the same situation as the New York Jets. I would even argue that Mac Jones has probably overall played better than Zach Wilson.
He has.
But he still hasn't played good. And they keep bouncing him from start. And it's not even game to game. With Mac, it's worse, I feel, because it's quarter to quarter. Yes. How many times this season has Mac been pulled out of the game, mid-game, 3 or 4, to be benched? And then sometimes he starts the next week. Sometimes he doesn't start the next week. Depends on how Bill's feeling. And then they did the same exact thing with Zach Wilson. They had one game where Mac was the third quarterback, and they brought Malik up. And I don't know if the depth chart officially said Mac was 3 or if he was still listed as 2. But when you bring 3 quarterbacks up and dress them for game day, and they're all ready to play, and none are labeled the emergency quarterback, if you're Mac Jones, you know if Zappy went down, you weren't going in. Malik was there to be the backup that day. So is it not the same thing, Mo? And
I think it's worse.
Right. And and again, I brought this up. We talked about this with Gene yesterday. As a current player, how are you going to sit there and tell me that man's given up? How are you going to sit here and say, well, when he throws a pick, he puts his head down? Yeah, because he knows that from the walk to the middle of the field to the sidelines, he's about to lose his starting job. By the time he reaches the sidelines, he knows he's benched. I would put my damn head down too, because it doesn't matter why he threw that pick, Mo. It could be his fault. It could have been a tip pass. It could have been someone not blocking on his right-hand side. Doesn't matter, because he probably knows, oh, I threw a pick. When I get to the
hook.
When I get to the bench, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know what Micah Parsons is seeing, but what he's not seeing is the truth of the matter is Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Zach Wilson. He is. And I would say this, it's a worse situation because it's not a secret that Mac Jones head coach don't like him.
Right.
He don't like him. He's not in his corner, which means that he gets a quicker hook. He doesn't get that love that Saleh was putting out there for Zach Wilson. Like Belichick won't even call him by his name. He didn't mention it.
He doesn't speak of him.
Yeah, he didn't even speak of him. So let me say this. I don't know if Mac Jones will ever be a very good quarterback, but I think he has established himself as a legit NFL quarterback. Now, that might be as a backup or a game manager somewhere else. But to say that you're questioning him as a competitor, how do you know that? I see Josh Allen put his head down when he throws a pick or when he fumbles the ball. I see Justin Herbert put his head down when he makes a mistake that hurts the defense. So him putting his head down, especially in his situation, he knows if he turns the ball over, he's probably getting the hook for the game. Most guys, you turn the ball over. Hey, why'd you do that? What were you seeing? There's a conversation. In New England, you're getting benched. So I don't know what he's seeing. And another thing, if Micah Parsons is so sure he can play quarterback, try being quarterback for the New York Jets. Try being quarterback for the New England Patriots. Try being quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Do that, and then tell me you can be quarterback.
And then tell me how you feel. Tell me about your effort.
Right, because you're going to get benched. So when you get benched and your head goes down, Micah, tell me how you feel.
We got football tonight, Mo. It is the Steelers and the Patriots. Meaningless game for the Patriots unless you're hoping they lose so they can get a better draft pick. Meaningful game for the Steelers, who are right in the middle of a very crowded wild card race for the AFC. And the Steelers are still mathematically alive for their division. That's probably an outside dream because of how well Baltimore is playing, but still right in the thick of things for Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, no Kenny Pickett tonight. Mitch Trubisky is going to be in there. The defense
is that unfortunate?
I mean, honestly,
is that unfortunate or is it an upgrade?
I agree with you. I think Mitch is probably a better quarterback. I don't know if his ceiling is as high as Pickett. I think with potential, Pickett passes him, but I think with just ability and what we've seen, right, Mitch is the better choice, the more consistent choice. But I still don't know with their play calling and with the way that offense works, how many points they're going to score. But Mo, the Pats didn't score last game. They lost 6-0. So I don't know if the Patriots are going to score at all against a much better defense than the Chargers defense. You're playing a top 10 defense tonight. So I don't know. I think Mac Jones is quarterbacking. I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm not sure.
Does it matter though? Because I don't know if they're going to score at all.
Look, I'm a Mike Tomlin guy. I'm with you. I don't know. This might be a baseball score. This might go 6-5.
Right.
It might go 6-5. Well, with that said, if it goes 6-5 or 10-6, I'm going to lean on Mike Tomlin to find a way to coach his team to get this win, this needed win. And like you said, if you're a Patriots fan, I don't like to use the word tank because it means that it alludes to you're not competing. I think they will compete, but I think a lot of Pats fans would prefer at this point that they lose to get better draft position. And I understand that way of thinking.
Yeah, I'm going to go Steelers tonight as well. Like I said, I don't think the Patriots are going to score double digits tonight. After last week, I just don't see it, and I don't see what's changed, aside from the fact that you're playing a much superior defense than you did last week when you couldn't score at all. So I'm going Pittsburgh tonight. And Mo, that's going to be an interesting conversation for next week because that will put Pittsburgh at 8 wins, and that's a team that, like we said all year, how are they doing it?
It's amazing. It's smoke and mirrors and a great it's amazing what a great coach can do. Mike Tomlin, maybe not the greatest X and O's coach, but he's a great motivator. He can get to you that way. He's a great leader of men. He's finding ways. To me, that they're where they are right now with all their struggles record-wise, that is stunning. That's stunning.
I think that's Coach of the Year stuff right there, to be honest with you, because he is making a gourmet meal out of nothing.
Agreed.
All right, Mo, close us out, sir.
Appreciate everybody in the chat. We appreciate you guys participating, listening to us this morning. Thanks to everybody that will listen to us later. Check out all the great content that we have to offer at Sports Empire Network. Check out the Empire.
Don't forget, right here, same time, same place tomorrow morning, Mo and I are going to break down all of the matchups happening this weekend in the NFL. So you definitely want to be here for that. I'm not saying we're going to be right, but we're going to make picks because we do it every week. So make sure you join us. Same time, same place. We will see you tomorrow morning.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get any